G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. Today we are reviewing round 17. Let's go.
Hodge has done it from nowhere. Lifting the goal from inside the 30. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty. Yes! You're a magician. Petrarca. The legend becomes immortal.
G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter bitching and moaning and complaining. And I am joined, as always, by coach of the BOGs Flogs, Luke Robertson. How are you, mate?
A lot better than you, mate. It probably goes to show, doesn't it, that the shit team went well this week and the good team went poorly.
Well, it seems like every team went well compared to me this week. So, look, we're recording this on a Sunday night, so it's fresh. It's very fresh.
Fresh wound. Look, you've been hard done by this year, mate. Everyone knows it. You've had a shocking year.
Before we start the show, I am 100% blaming you.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, I can't wait to hear this.
All of your fault.
Flesh it out for me.
You mozzed me.
Have I?
You mozzed me on Friday night.
What did I do?
Let's get a personalised plate. We'll call it Kissed. Oh, it'll be so funny when you have your Hilux in the garage. We're going to get a personalised plate and call it Kissed. Fucking Kissed. I'm pissed. I'm going to get a pissed number plate and put it on my own regular car because I'm not winning the fucking car anymore. Because my team is dog shit.
It wasn't my recommendation. I just got behind it. Someone in the chat said that. I thought that was a great idea.
Oh, that is the moz of the century. I'm calling it. The commentators have got nothing on you because, yeah, the car dream is done.
I think I've shedded the curse. I had a couple of really good traders this week, so let's go.
No, I'm happy for you, mate. I'm really, really happy for you.
I can feel it.
Yeah, you got a big win, the Content Creators Cup. So that's good. It's good. Why don't we talk about how your team went this week? How did the BOGs Flogs fare?
Not bad in the end. Like you said, we're just wrapping up the week. So let me get the final stats. So 2-4-3-6.
Very nice. Very nice.
The Mighty Ox. It was a huge week. There were a lot of teams that went 2,400, but I'm very happy with that. And then that has brought the overall rank into 1730, up almost 1,000 spots from last week.
So all right, okay, charging into the top 1,000, maybe
in the right direction. But it was a chaotic week. There was good highly owned players that went poorly, and then there were a few sort of poddish players that went really well. So it was enough to get Bales in the Content Creators Cup too. So I was pretty happy with that win. He was a little bit more in your situation this week, I think.
Well, I scored 21-38, so I'm a good 300 points behind you.
It's not the buy rounds anymore, mate. Probably.
How did you score 300 points better than me?
Good coach, mate. Just a good coach. I told you to trade in McKercher.
Oh, fucking hell. So I lost rank. I was going to the round ranked 4th.
Yep.
I'm now ranked 15th, which, look, to be honest, I'm still, if you'd have told me at round 17, I'd be ranked 15th. I'd be very, very happy. But
take it every day.
I lost 132 points to the first overall place. I'm now nearly 300 points behind him. I also lost to Warney in the Content Creators. It was a fisting, mate. You talk about a fisting. This was
the Warn Dog bench over.
Absolute unlubricated fisting. Yeah, nothing went right. Absolutely nothing went right for my team this week. Look, yeah.
Hey, it happens. It happens. And the best thing about fantasy is that, you know, today's news is tomorrow's fish and chips paper. So we'll move on and see what we can do.
All right, why don't you tell everyone about Infinite Wealth, how to make money. I'll go cheer up, I promise.
You do it by trading in McKercher. That's how you make money.
Oh, okay.
No, special thanks to Infinite Wealth, obviously. Guesty over there, sponsoring the Content Creators Cup. A little bit of money going to charity there for the winner. And if you want to cash in on a free gift worth nearly $3,000, head on over to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy.
Let's talk about the sponge of the week. I want to start positive because it's someone in your team.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants! Absorbent and yellow and porous is he. SpongeBob SquarePants!
The award goes this week to Connor Rosie because he went nuts, and he especially went nuts when his partner in crime, Zach Butters, went subbed out. So he got a 147 this week with 36 touches, kicks a goal, 8 tackles, 5 marks. His biggest score for the season, and I believe, was it the biggest score for the round? It'd have to be up there. Yeah, just kicked off the weekend for a big one for anyone who had him in their team. So he gets the sponge of the week for just not relenting even when his teammate gets subbed out.
Now, this one may be a little contentious because the camel of the week...
My hump, 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 my hump.
Who is it, Luke?
I was about to hit my lovely lady lumps.
Cool.
Well, Max Gawn, look, injured his ankle, maybe.
Bullshit.
But if Goody says, yeah, sub out, you got to say, hey, bro, I'm in some fantasy teams. I got to stay out here and get a little bit of waxy wax. And
his ankle is absolutely fine. I'm telling you right now, his ankle is fine. He re-strapped it. He was looking as chilled as ever on the bench when he was getting his ankle strapped.
This is where footy and fantasy don't quite line up sometimes, because if you're a Melbourne fan, you're saying put him on ice. We got this covered. Don't risk your big dog. But if you're a fantasy coach, look, I will say there were some flags there that we mentioned on Friday, but you assured me he was going to be a good big boy option. But there was always talk there that West Coast could just be too easy a matchup for him. But
well, the thing, they lost to West Coast last time. So, you know what? I thought that they'd come out with a point to prove, and obviously they did. He had 52 points at halftime. Look, he wasn't smashing it by the park, but like, okay. I mean, first of all, my fucking VC. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But yeah, so I've captained Max Gawn. He's gotten subbed out at 3/4 time.
Maybe it's camelish from Goody, not from Gawn. Maybe I'm being a little unfair there, but get on the park, score some fantasy points.
Come on, mate. Like, just you're fighting for. They need the percentage. Like, they're not even in the 8 yet. They need the percentage. Put the foot down on the throat. Who's rucking for you in that fourth quarter? Far out. Anyway, yes, so he obviously gets the camel for just parking the bus up in that 3/4 time huddle and, just letting everyone down.
Let's keep the positivity rolling with some bubble.
And the winner of the Norm Smith medal.
You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment.
I'm doing the BOGs this week because I'm going to try and, keep the positivity alive in this podcast. So I'm going to give it...
Before we go through the games as well, let us preference. We didn't watch a heap of footy on the weekend.
Oh,
so,
I watched next to nothing.
Well, you were...
I spat the dummy.
Yeah, we had to just try and keep you off the ledge. So we watched a couple of games between us, but a lot of what we'll talk about today is based on stats and things we've seen on Twitter.
We'll definitely take a lot of comments in. If you have an explanation for what the hell went down this round, please let us know, because for my own mental health, I switched off the TV this weekend. But so Collingwood versus Essendon, best on ground, Zach Merritt. So he put up the 120. I've given it to him because a lot of people might have had the vice captaincy on him. Yep. And if you did, you probably avoided the terror that was some of the options. I mean, there were some good options, but some of the other options that potential other people might have gone to in Errol, Sarong, and Max, all letting the team down. So if you took that VC 120, he set up the round nicely for you, so he gets the bog.
I'm kind of guessing on the flog here, but let me talk you through this. If Kruger had have scored, let's say, 15 more points,
I'd have looped him on, and
then you wouldn't have traded in Myers, and you is that what got the ball rolling on the horrible round, or? Oh, I saw that. Was it? What do you have? 73. Yeah,
I never really considered taking it.
Okay, but I'm just saying he can be the flog, because if he had scored maybe 15 more points,
if he scored,
you don't go to Myers.
If he scored 89, I'm looping it and I'm doing something else.
You probably still would have moved Young to Ryan, but
I don't know what I would have done. Yeah. Look, going into the round, I had English coming in. I had Dylan Moore coming in. I get that late Friday news where, okay, Rowan Marshall, he's solo rucking. So, okay, I'm not going to bother getting English. So now Dylan Moore, okay, what am I going to do? I'm trying to get an upgrade from Hayden Young to get to Luke Ryan, because I thought he was going to go good. Lost points there, went and lost 50 points on the forward target as well. So,
sorry, I shouldn't keep rubbing it in.
Yeah, we keep going down these.
You've had a lot of things go your way, so you got
all right. North Melbourne versus Gold Coast, best on ground. Your trade in, and the curse is officially broken.
Well,
because
it's not officially broken.
No, it's officially broken. Okay. You kissed. You absolutely kissed. Colby McKershaw goes 123 for his season high score, 37 disposals.
Right,
I was nervous about trading him in. I was telling people not to do it, and I was flat fucking wrong. I'll own that one because, yeah, obviously he outscored most other premium defenders this week, so most of the premium mids, so great trade in if you got him.
For 1 week. We can't judge it after 1 week. Flog for me is Tuke Miller's wrist. I'm not going to bash a guy for getting in. I'm not going to bash a guy for...
Hold on. You scored 2,400 and you had Tuke Miller subbed out on a 50?
And he was on a 50 at halftime. So I'm not a big math guy, but I'm going to call it 100.
What the
I was on for a zinger this week.
Holy shit, okay.
Brayshaw had a 146.
He did.
So I'm not bashing an injured guy, but just his wrist. Just be a bit more strong in the wrist. I mean, I've had...
Drink your milk.
I've had plenty of wrist injury. None to do with football, obviously. But... just, we need to strengthen those wrists up a little bit.
Is he out for this week coming up, you reckon?
I think he will be, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so he's probably injured. He's not just having a sore cry.
No, I think he is.
Okay.
And to be clear, I'm not bashing the injured. I'm just saying strengthen your wrists. I know a few good wrist... You're an EP. Do you know any good wrist exercises? Keep your wrists strong.
Port Adelaide versus Bulldogs. We'll move on. Best on ground. We gave the sponge award to Rosie, so I'm going to give it to Zach Butters for putting up the good score that he did before he was subbed out. I mean, yeah, just put the sword to the Bulldogs. Both he and Rosie did. 33 touches and a goal, and to be on 136. It's disappointing that he got subbed out, but... yeah, I mean, 136, you absolutely take that. I believe that is also his season high score for the year. So both Port Adelaide boys got up to an absolute flyer.
Bit of floggery from the Bont in this one. Like, I think he scored 100 flat in the end, but did you see what he scored in the last quarter?
No, what did he score in the last quarter?
Have a look at what he scored in the last quarter.
Let's have a look. Oh, my days, 49 points.
So stop doing this to us, Bont.
Yeah.
Stop. Then when the game's there to be won, no Bont. 50 points in the last.
What's going on, mate?
He saved his score, but you can't be doing that to us, Bont. Be big.
Yeah, yes.
If you can score 50 in the last, you should be getting 150s with his eyes closed.
Yeah, 100%. Special shout out to Bailey Dale and Ed Richards for letting down the Bulldogs defenders that might be in some fantasy teams. Geelong versus Hawthorn. Best on ground. A guy that I said was the number one forward target on Friday's live show.
Oh.
I did.
No, I'm saying, like, that's yuck for you.
Yeah. Dylan Moore. He's a gun. He's actually just a really fucking good footy player. The team got done by 50 points, Hawthorn that is, and he still finds a way to get 119, kick 2 goals, 26 touches, 6 tackles. He's just a genuinely good player. And I think in a forward line, this is just what we're going to have to cop, and he is definitely safe to have in your forward line and just sit him there.
Grinds the flog, and we'll gloss over that one.
Just shit. So shit. Anyway, moving on. GWS versus Carlton. Best on ground, Lockie Whitfield. I'm giving this one because he got tagged a little bit from what I understand to score 100. I believe you were telling me that he saved this score.
He worked so hard in the last 2 quarters. Have a look at the last
42 and 32 in the last, so 74 points in the second half. So, I mean, that's best on ground worthy for this game where there wasn't too much else to write home about. So he gets the best on ground for at least saving his score and caring about his fantasy managers, unlike some tall, bald men that I can think of.
Bald men. I feel like you're just getting driven by on all the flogs here because Walsh and Newman both appear at Mitchmond and both just didn't pull their weight either. Walsh got a bit of Bedford attention early, I believe, and then Newman just...
I apologise. The solo podcast that I did with when you weren't here, I called Sam Walsh a tag breaker. I'll take all that back. The man can't handle a tag. He can't do anything about it.
I don't think Walsh is tag breaker.
I thought he was going to be one of those players that works hard, tackles, finds the ball, but no, he's too much of a team player and not thirsty enough. So yeah, I will take that back.
Freo and Richmond. Who we got?
Your boy, Andrew Brayshaw, but honestly, I could have given him the flog for hogging all the points for Freo. So he goes and scores. I don't think it's as quite a season high, but nearly. What was it, a 140?
146.
146, fucking hell. Okay, so he goes in, plays Richmond, which was obviously an easy kill. 35 touches, has 8 marks, 8 tackles, kicks himself a snag as well. Just all-round great game, 146.
Right on halftime too. It was like 2 seconds to go in the first half.
Oh, killer. Yeah, again, I didn't even watch Richmond this week. I couldn't even celebrate them losing and getting the number 1 pick. So, yeah, that was a good trade in for you, and obviously the Freo mid, who we all should have been on.
For sure. Flog for this one, obviously Caleb Sarong disappointed a lot of people who either would have had the VC or potentially, even the C on him, expecting a big score against Richmond. The other thing too that got around, it kind of cleared up as the game went on, but the weather just didn't suit waxing.
No, and someone alerted to me to this on Saturday, and it was like sort of after I'd sort of in my mind just mentally decided, yep, this is what I'm going to do. And then someone said, oh, what about the weather? And I was like, oh, fuck. Because I'm trading Luke Ryan. It's probably better for Hayden Young. But look, Luke Ryan wasn't really my issue this week. But anyway, it's...
Watching a bit of that game too, look...
Did Luke Ryan save his score as well?
Yeah,
I feel like
Jordan Clark both had like 30s.
44 point last quarter. Yeah, okay.
So it's a big save. But Hayden, the role for Hayden Young was still... There was still a fair bit of forward time involved. He just, he managed to find it. And against Richmond, we always said that was a possibility. So next game, Melbourne West Coast.
Trent Rivers repaid the faith of those people who held on to him. He had a 130 in this game, was the really only relevant fantasy player that did well in this game. So, 123 he had, 29 touches, 9 marks and 5 tackles. So if you held on to him, you were rewarded. It seems like all the cheap defenders just went off this round.
I got him as the flog for that very reason as well. You trade in a guy, he's coming off good form, he gives you a shit score, then it's the yo-yo. It's not the roller coaster you want to ride. So Trent, just give us some solid scores consistently, please.
Yep.
St Kilda and Sydney.
St Kilda and Sydney, best on ground, Jack Steele. Again, the theme of this round seems to be the players who were in shit form. Turning it around, 112 points, 28 touches, 7 marks, 7 tackles. That seems like a very Jack Steele line, and not too much else to write home about in this game. Who is the flog?
EG's fourth quarter. What's Errol doing? Again, correct us in the comments. We didn't watch the game, but I looked at the scores and
3 points.
Yeah, 3 points. It's very un-Errol-like.
It's like the reverse of last week.
Yeah. Not doing Errol things.
Interesting. And the final game of the round, Brisbane versus Adelaide, which has just concluded. Best on ground, I begrudgingly give it to Josh Dunkley. He's been an excellent trade target these last 2 rounds. And Brisbane's midfield just seemed to dominate Adelaide's midfield. 35 touches.
Bless you.
Sneeze all over the place. And he got 140 points and kicked a goal as well. Jesus. All right, who's the flog for this one here, Luke?
I think you could give it to Jordan Dawson, or I'm just having a look at the Isaac Rankin bump here. Do we think...
I think he's gone for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, unfortunately. It looks like he's accidentally headbutted him. It wasn't the shoulder that got him.
Yep. He's elected to bump still.
Yeah, so I think you unfortunately take that. So, yeah, if you did trade him in as that F6 option, that is a bit
salt
stinky.
in the wound. Brian Myers, Isaac Rankin. Like, it was such a tight decision. Isaac Heaney is potentially a little bit more optimistic, but he might also be rubbed out from this game as well. But just the sliding door moments of Brian Myers, Isaac Rankin, Dylan Moore. We were sort of and ahhing these 3 players. They've all, like, to this round, they were all very, very close to each other in terms of average for the season.
Yep.
And there is 50 to 60 points difference between that one decision this week. And it just, it feels like it shouldn't be that big of a difference, which isn't like that. But, yeah, it's just a killer.
You ride the roller coaster, but, like, in all seriousness, I know you're feeling very down about it.
I'm amping it up a little bit.
But,
kind of.
Give it another week and everything can shift around. You've had a good run of luck so far. So.
Yeah, no, I can't complain too much. I'm just, in my feels a bit. All right, let's talk about some AFL fantasy strategy.
Okay.
The first question I have for you, Luke, is how can we stop avoiding mozzing ourselves for the next 7 weeks? But no, in seriousness, what are we doing with the forward line? So we spoke about that last game, carnage in the forward line.
Yeah, yep.
Isaac Heaney potentially suspended. Isaac Rankin potentially suspended.
Yeah.
Do we treat these guys the same if they're both suspended? If one's suspended, what do we do with these players? Who do we go to? Is there a loop option potentially? If Heaney's suspended 1 week, is he like a hold and sort of see, or is it too late in the season for that kind of thing? Because the options in our forward line are garbage.
They really are garbage, and it's tough to justify spending multiple trades down there if he's suspended for a week. But we're at the point in the season where we need points on field every week. So I haven't had a good look at some loop options, but look, first game of the round, next round is Collingwood Geelong, so you could potentially Joe Richards, potential loop option. He didn't score really well this week. You can maybe have a bit of a look at that. You've got Kruger, you could have a little bit of a sneaky look at. I think Heaney will unfortunately be suspended. I think it's one of those ones where you could
Just
see
watching it now.
You could see immediately he goes, "Oh shit, what have I done?" But the unfortunate thing is when you go, I think he's turning to give himself some space in the chest, and he's hit him in the beak, and he's bleeding. There's blood everywhere. So I think that unfortunately.
So was he ruled out with a concussion or anything from this game?
I'm not sure, but blood coming out of his nose. I suspect that Heaney's done, because if the AFL don't take the stance of it, it's going to be blown up as a protecting the brown.
I think the Heaney one is much more difficult to sort of. The decision's much harder. I think Rankin's suspended. He's probably suspended multiple weeks, and he's not good enough that if he's out a week, he's gone.
You shift him.
You trade him out. The guy that I think is interesting here is actually a rookie. Sean Manor is the guy that I think is actually interesting here, because he plays on that Friday night.
Well, true. You just get him off. You get him. He's going to be, what, 250K once lockout lifts?
He's going to go up a bunch, but still cheap as chips. So he scored, what did he score? 115 points. In 69%, I'm looking at the wrong thing. 78% time on ground, had 14 tackles. Now, I'm not expecting that each week, but...
No, but it's the Hail Mary. If he's
But you've got to downgrade and have a look.
If he's your like traditional downgrade anyway that you're going to be making, you may as well look at it, and then you make your decision on whether it's then...
So the hypothetical situation is here. Heaney gets suspended 1 week.
Yep.
What is the line that you take from a Sean Manor to hold Heaney and do something else with?
I actually think it's... When I say low, I actually think it's in the 70s.
70s.
I think like 75, 80 I'd take.
Yeah, because what the fuck?
Well, it's who you bring in. You've just shown you brought in Grind Myers. He might be an option.
Maybe someone
Stinky.
who, like me, if you trade in a rank and if you traded in Grind Myers, maybe, like, if you don't have a Dylan Moore, maybe you're getting in him.
But
instead of like a 70
Dylan Moore can give you that score from Grind Myers. This is the thing about it, is like Dylan Moore can give you...
Who's he got? Freo.
2 weeks before... He's had 2 good weeks. Geelong, great matchup. West Coast, decent matchup for forwards. Prior to that, he gives you a 77 against Richmond. What the fuck's that?
Yeah.
83 against the Giants. So, do you know what I mean? And then, take it back a couple of weeks, 69, 62. So, like, all I'm saying is, Dylan Moore's a hot commodity right now, but there's worlds where he gives you that Grind Myers score on the weekend. So, if I was looking at Manor, I would take a 70, 75 from him.
I think it depends on how aggressive you're trying to be. Okay. Like where you're sitting. Are you happy to defend or whatever? What's the go? There is a bit of a mess in terms of trading Heaney out, getting him back in.
Yeah. You would hate for Carnage to come along and then a week after.
With that being said, like a lot of us, maybe in luxury trades sort of sit like time of year.
Yeah. And
the other thing might be just the other priorities in your team. So we'll go to the chopping block later, but there's a lot of players that I'd like to trade out of my side instead.
That's called rage trade.
So I think there's a lot to go under the bridge here. Let's cross our fingers and hope that he maybe gets off with a fine or something like that. Maybe, the Brownlow hype just gets him over the line. We've seen players like Butters kind of be looked at favourably because of that reason.
Yeah.
Try not to stress too much in case it doesn't eventuate, but maybe have a plan in place. The next topic... sorry, do you want to move on?
Well, it's a topic for strategy chat as well.
Yeah.
One left field here as well, I think. Can you do away this time of year with making your luxury trades for matchups? This is probably not like a popular opinion, but you have a look at the weekend. Okay, Sydney have the St Kilda matchup. Highest player scored 105. I know they don't have any like notable defenders that you would get on or anything like that.
Yeah.
Sarong has the Richmond matchup, 70, whatever it was.
So garbage.
So what I'm saying is there any benefit to just during this luxury trade, just do what you've been doing the whole time? Look at who you perceive the worst player on your team to be and upgrade them to a better player, and just keep looking at that week to week and just kind of temper our expectation on what we can expect out of any matchups, given because it's what you did this week and you lost points.
But it's what I've done all season. Do you know what I mean? Like I will sit here and stand by the fact that.
But you've targeted matchups in the cadence of your upgrading. You haven't had to get off a player that could potentially score more than that.
Well,
player.
yeah, but that's just the time of year we're at right now. Like figuring out who my worst player is. I mean, now it's very obvious that it's fucking Alex Sexton and Grind Myers, but you've still got the question of who did he go to. But the rest of my team, the question of who is my worst player is a difficult question, where it wasn't a difficult question before we had our team full of premiums. So the run is still the it's still the factor that we're taking into account. Now, it doesn't always work, but say you traded in a Brayshaw. I know Bales was talking about trading him in. I'm not sure if he actually did, but say you traded in a Brayshaw instead of a Sarong. Well, that's a fucking huge result. So it does work in some scenarios. It hasn't in a lot this weekend, but I don't think we can simply say to hell with matchups and just trade in.
And I don't think that's necessarily what I
player.
was saying, but I think it's just like it's a discussion point to say, yeah, you could trade in for a matchup, but you could get the Sarong instead of Brayshaw, or you could get the, you know.
Yeah, I still think you're looking for best 8 players, so someone you think potentially could be best 8. All right.
And then if it so happens that you can get them on the matchup.
And if you get them on the matchup, then yeah. So going into this round, I thought Sarong could be that. But he's been garbage, man, since I've traded him in. I traded him in round 12.
He's only had one proper ceiling score all year. I've been telling you that for weeks.
He's had 3 over 120. But yeah, a lot of like 106s, 107s.
98s, like it's just...
He's had 1 ton since I traded him in round 12. Yeah, it's probably one of my worst trades of the season, to be honest. So you've got to start to reevaluate some of these players. You know, are they top 8? Are they best 6? And if there's another player that you think that you don't have, that has a decent matchup and doesn't have a tag game looming, then yeah, you can jump ship and do that, even if there's maybe a extremely good matchup for someone that's maybe not top in their line. But I still think there's a world where you can try and marry those two things up.
Okay.
I just realised that Harvey Thomas outscored 2 of my mid-premiums.
There's a few good rookie scores getting around on the weekend. Logan Evans, 88. Lawson Humphreys, 77. Manor, obviously, the 100.
I've got 3 players on my bench that would be better on my field. Oh, my gosh. All right, let's move on before I shoot myself. All right, let's talk about the chopping block.
Sorry, I'm not queued up for the chopping block. Let me just give
Let's chop, Luke.
Wow.
Alex Sexton, I think he's got to go. The writing's on the wall. Did you see Dimmer's press conference?
I didn't.
He had some strong words for the Suns. He says they got to grow the fuck up. In those words. Yeah,
did he actually?
He did. He said, as a footy club, we've got to grow the fuck up.
He's going to cop a huge fight.
Oh, he will. I reckon he doesn't care. So
he doesn't care, eh?
He's going to swing the axe.
Oh, Sexy will go.
What if there's a scenario where
grow the fuck up?
Where
Jesus.
Rankin, Heaney, Sexton are all out of our teams next week. Tuke Miller. Carnage is coming.
I'm looking at donuts.
I think Sexton's got to go. So he's lost the role. Like,
yeah.
The writing was on the wall. We probably should have traded him out this past round. I mean, still had 4 kick-ins, equal highest with Will Powell, but 55, it's just not going to cut the mustard. I mean, Will Powell only had a 60, so it was a poor scoring game for their defenders, but I think you've got Weller coming in round 19. He can go now.
Yeah.
And
I think we could be in some strife there. I think that could be a forced one later.
So I think even if you make money going to a Simpkin, I think you're probably benefiting with some points there.
I want to watch the Dimmer press conference now.
Dan Houston, he's been garbage the last 2 rounds, and this is the Dan Houston experience. He's just well off a step of those other guys. There's other players you can probably get him to. He's going to drop a ton in cash, but you could probably...
His break-even's going to be enormous.
Yeah, it's going to be enormous, but he has to go. Let's talk about some maybe more borderline calls.
Yep.
Jordan Dawson. Now, am I being reactionary by saying that he can be traded? Because I am getting so sick of these 60s. He set a new low today with 57 on 91% time on ground. Again, I didn't watch this game, but from what I can tell on Twitter is he wasn't tagged. At least I don't think. But 57 from 91% time on ground. Was he resting forward? 16 touches. And he's got St Kilda, Essendon, Hawthorn, the next 3. Maybe he's getting tagged by Windhager. If Rankin's not there,
yeah, then there's more of a chance of it. Certainly, I think a lot of people that have Dawson will still have bigger fish to fry, and I think you're included in that. So I think you're just
If I didn't have shit going on, I would definitely consider trading him, because I think with Rankin likely gone, the Windhager tag going to him, and just his general ups and downs this season, it's frustrating. Very, very frustrating. And the next guy I've got on here, Max Gawn. This is his 3rd game in a row, sub 100. subbed out this game. Roll the ankle, kinda.
Yeah.
I don't think the ankle's an issue.
Nah, you'd think he'll play next week, but
He's
I
got
do.
Essendon and then Freo, 2 tough matchups.
And I mean, his break even before this week was 155.
And there are other rucks doing well. I told you,
Yeah.
Tim English is going to be the number 1 scoring ruckman for the rest of the season, and he went 130 this week.
You did tell me that, mate.
Could you go him to a Tim English just to mix things up? If you're in an attacking position...
Yeah, fuck yeah. You may. I mean, Gawn's going to drop it. I'm pre-lockout here. Gawn's probably going to drop below $1 million.
Yes.
He's definitely going to drop below $1 million. So you're still going to make...
Maybe you'll make a tiny bit.
Yeah, probably less than... Oh, you're going to make about 50K, aren't you?
Yeah. But
if, like you said, if you're in that super attacking position, yeah.
What's going on with him?
I don't mind
that. He looked disinterested at times. He kicked a goal in this game.
I don't think he looks disinterested. I think he looks tired.
Yeah.
Like he's a big dog. Like have a look at the scores pre that round 14 bye. He's a big dog.
Oh, he's a huge dog.
He's the only dog.
98, 77, 71.
That's a fucking tough position to play and be the only guy that's just getting beat up every week.
I think he'll be better.
He will at some point, but he looks tired.
But I don't know if we can wait for it. Is my kind of...
Yeah, if you want to get aggressive and bring in the Tinglish, I'll give you the Tingles, I reckon.
There were some people that were... shout out to Xavier Ellis. He was off Gawn prior to the last 2 rounds. He said he was worried about Melbourne, and he said Max Gawn's is gonna be worse the second half of the year.
Yeah. Hey, good call so far.
Now, yeah. Whether, again, it's going to be a priority thing, but I do think obviously it's a bit of a hindsight call, but I think you can trade him out. We always see this, like players who have enormous first halves fall off a cliff in the second half.
Yeah, they can.
Tim Taranto last year.
Yeah. And vice versa too.
Yeah, and vice versa. Players come out of nowhere. You know, think of a Tim English. Like he could very well go back to being a 120 averaging player for the rest of the season. It wouldn't shock me at all. So... calls like that could make a big difference to your season. And Brian Myers, now, he probably gets saved by the fact that our forward line's falling down and getting suspended. But I tweeted out, how the fuck did he come into my team?
I don't know. Hey. It was your compromise in the Luke Ryan thing. It was. Yeah, you had to have that cash, didn't you, to do what you wanted to do. It just reminded
me why we never go for these roles. Like, he was there or thereabouts at a lot of times through the game. But there were so many times where Geelong just fumbled the ball and couldn't get in the ball and just was just close enough but without scoring. I want to know, how the fuck did he have 8 and 9 tackles in his previous 2 games? Because this man was nowhere near tackling anyone this game.
Taking emotion out of it, this is the F6 spot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is... Next week, we could be talking about a Brian Myers 100 and a Dylan Moore 80 and Isaac Rankin suspended, and suddenly you're sitting here going,
Would you rather Jai Simpkin than Brian Myers?
Well, you asked me after this week. Yes. You asked me after last week. Fuck no.
The thing that is just...
It's the F6 spot. I think you're going to have to, not you specifically, but I think we're going to have to get used to the fact that, like, this F6 spot will kill us some weeks, and then some weeks we're going to look like fucking rock stars.
And this is why the 23rd premium is so... appealing this year,
but only if it lines up with your loops and everything. That's the trouble.
But you've at least got the opportunity to safeguard from this. Do you know what I mean? Like you have a Simpkin who plays on that Saturday afternoon. You put him on the thing. He gets 100. You take that every day of the week.
You're locked in,
and then you don't have to field this. Even though Brian Myers was theoretically your better player, you know you might get unlucky, but you've also got a better chance to be lucky in that position.
Yep.
So. I think it's definitely a move that if you have the ability to do so, it's something that I would definitely consider. I actually think that Simpkin's probably going to be better than a Brian Myers anyway. I'm just basing that on the role. And the role seems to be there for Simpkin more so than Moore, more so than Myers. Rankin's now going to be suspended. We're going to want Zach Fisher back in our teams when he's back and healthy.
Yeah, probably
I think he's going to be a guy that we target back once we can. Have maybe one game and have a look at him, make sure he's looking okay. But if Colin McKercher can go for 120, then Fisher still has that ability. And he was on a good score before he got injured last week. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. But
there's lots going on.
There is a lot going on. So I think all those players can get traded. Obviously, if you got the suspended players that we didn't throw up on here, but I think... avoiding carnage, I think those guys all on the screen there can be traded. What about the guys trading into our teams? Let's have a look at them. Now, the funny thing about this list here is, aside from maybe Adam Treloar, a lot of these guys are cheap. A lot of these guys are really cheap. And this is maybe a trap that I've fallen into. Having the money I've got, being in the position I'm in, it's a good reminder that just because someone is cheap or just because someone has not performed up until that point,
doesn't make
and just because someone has performed up to that point, doesn't mean they're going to continue doing that for the rest of the season. We see this every year, and it's just a good, timely reminder that price is still relevant at this stage, value is still somewhat relevant, and that the best scorers can come from the cheaper prices. So players like Tom Stewart, players like Connor Rozee, Dylan Moore, Colby McKercher, Jai Simpkin.
I'm a fucking legend.
all of these guys are legit options because they're in a good role, and for a lot of them, they've done it before, so you can't count them out. So what are your thoughts, first of all, on Tom Stewart? Do you think that he is a 100 averaging player in the role that he's in because he's still getting CBAs?
Yeah, I love that role for him. The thing that concerns me as well is just how Geelong see that role. Is that a little bit of a band-aid to fix what's been happening with him getting attention across the half-back line? I know that Zach Tui's kind of slotted into what was his old role a little bit. Does Geelong kind of see this as like, yeah, we'll do this for a couple of weeks till everyone forgets about Tom Stewart, and then Tom Stewart's back into his old role?
I think it's a positive regardless because they can just pull that move.
Yeah, and he's previously scored reasonably well in that role too. So, yeah, no, I like, obviously Geelong got a big win down at GMHBA this week as well. It's not always going to be that, but Collingwood's a decent matchup for mids this week coming.
It's a matchup for half-backs too.
And I don't know how the Doggies match up. That's the following week. And then he goes into North Melbourne after that, which have actually been a little harder for mids to score against. But, Tom Stewart, cheap.
I think there's definitely a chance that he's a top 6 defender. Now, defence, we've had a lot of decent scorers. There's a lot of good scorers in defence, and we've been saying it most of the year that the defence is loaded this season. So I'm not sure. I mean, maybe if you've got a Dan Houston, he's your target. So, But yeah, he is definitely someone that just because he's cheap doesn't mean that he's not going to potentially be a top 6 defender. I think he's a good target there. Adam Treloar, I'm very interested in. He went big in a Port Adelaide matchup.
And they trounced him too.
They trounced him. So the fact that he was able to score that way, 121, 38 touches, 7 tackles, he's coming into a good fixture coming up. So he's got Carlton this week. Do we think that the tag for him is sort of like that one and done? It was tagged the week before by North. Do we see that happening?
Not with the matchups that he's got coming up. Look, I don't think Carlton are probably going to just give him any attention than Geelong. No. Sydney go head to head. So I don't think in the foreseeable
Sydney's an
future.
interesting one because James Jordan went to Dale, then Ed Richards, and then Treloar the last time they matched up.
Which to me...
So they skip the first two and go straight to Treloar?
Oh, to me, that almost tells me that they're undecided about what his role's going to be, and it's kind of just whoever's popping off. So then you're starting to overthink it a little bit, I think.
I think so too. So I think he's someone that if you're going to pay up, I think he's a top 8 mid, and I think he's a unique player. I'd be very happy to have him. Connor Rozee, I did mention when we talked about the runs last podcast that he's got a good run coming up, and obviously he's kicked it off pretty good. So he's definitely someone to look at. And another midfield in there is Josh Dunkley. He's going to be expensive now.
Well, I mean, he's going to be the same price as Treloar, and I'd almost rather him.
You prefer Dunkley over Treloar?
I know I'm being an absolute sucker for the last 3 weeks, but 118, 158, 140. I know it's typical to get those scores and then to have it fall off a cliff when you go chasing them. Because then you read the previous 3 weeks, 96, 79, 87. So, yeah.
I just think a lot of people are going there. And if I want to be a little bit different but still get a guy that, I'm not compromising, I think Treloar's a good answer, like a good unique answer for Dunkley. I think they're both top 8s.
Treloar's been a great... If you picked Treloar at the start of the season, fuck me dead.
My days, yeah.
What a great pick.
I think they're both top 8. So I think, if you've got one or the other, go and get the other one, I reckon. Whether or not... I mean, the West Coast matchup this week, maybe you just go get Dunkley and then Treloar the next week, because I think Treloar then has Geelong the week after, I want to say.
Just went to search for Connor Rozee, but he's actually already at the Oxlongs, mate, so I'll just have to duck over to my team there. fucking good.
Jesus. Okay. The head wobble over here, guys.
It's the first thing I've had to head wobble about all year.
No, you big round. Yeah, so
Is Connor Rozee a must-have guy? A must-have, throwing that around. But, like, even at that price, like you said before, do you go, oh, geez.
What I want to know is, when's the next time Ken Hinckley's job's going to be under threat? Because that's when they step up. That's when they all step up. Whenever Ken Hinckley's under fire, and then they pull something out of their ass, and they just dominate, and then everyone feasts.
2 weeks' time, they got the Richmond matchup. Oh. They go Suns, Richmond.
He's going to kick 3 goals against Richmond.
But then it's Carlton, Sydney. So it's not the best finish to the year, but Richmond seems pretty juicy.
I still think Connor Rozee scores less than a Treloar and a Dunkley.
Okay. Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Would you agree?
I agree with that.
What was his CBAs
he's got
weekend?
an
Because the
ceiling,
previous week he was actually a bit more forward. I'd imagine that, he was the highest because I'd imagine Butters was, he only had 8 CBAs with his sub. So you can't read too much into that. But, I mean, he's still excellent value. He could easily be a top 8 as well. Like, all 3 of these players could be top 8. Treloar, Dunkley, Rozee, absolutely. I think that, all 3 are good targets. I would probably rank them in that order. What about your boy Brayshaw? Is he back?
Oh, man.
Because they have a good run still. Obviously, you've missed the Richmond matchup if you jump on him now, but they still have a good run coming up.
You mentioned Hawthorn at UTAS, particularly big ground.
Huge ground.
And he loves getting into some space, doesn't he?
Yep.
He looks far better. Like, just watching him in the last couple of weeks, the last 3 weeks, let's call it, he looks more Brayshaw than he has previously.
Has he benefited from Hayden Young being a bit more of that forward player?
Potentially. I don't know if I can endorse it for people just because I feel nervous about what he's dished up so far this season other than the last 3 rounds. Maybe there's a little bit of benefit to it, but to me, I think he got challenged in the media a couple of weeks back before his big 130.
He's been the captain, the last 2 or 3 since?
It just looked like he was out with a point to prove. The work rate was so high. He's getting in and laying tackles when required. So I'm loving being an owner. That being said, he scored 82 weeks ago, and 80 from a premium. You're not going to this time of year. It's not going to cut the mustard.
67 versus Bulldogs.
So as much as the 136 and the 146 look red hot, an 80 against Sydney, then you're not happy last week. So I would still say stay clear, just so that I can have him as a pod.
I think he's the least confident. I think is a top 8 of the guys we've discussed from the midfield.
Yeah.
So I'd probably still favour Rozee, Dunkley, Treloar over him, but I do think if you got him already, he's a decent pot. Obviously, he has the ceiling, so you can definitely look there. The forward line, Dylan Moore, I think he's a guy you can trust. He might have a low score every now and again, but at least he seems to balance it out with some ceiling scores.
Yeah.
You can hit a ton. You can hit a 120. The others, I don't think I can say that. Jai Simpkin, a lot of us maybe traded him out. He's probably going to put up another stinker. I mean, we're going to have George Wardlaw coming back.
Yeah.
He's an option for a 23rd premium. I don't know if I'd trade it in my existing forwards to him. But if you want to get a 23rd premium, I'd tick it off. In the downgrade, I think you got to, not even just for cash, but Sean Manor is a points option. Talk about a 23rd premium.
Based on the role and based on what he served up.
The role was great.
Yeah. So if he sticks in that, then that's a very, very... and that's juicy from the perspective of, imagine if you have your 23rd premium and he's a guy that you traded in for $250K.
Yeah.
In that role.
He'd probably be $300K now. But he's...
what did he start the round on? It was barely $200K.
217.
Was it?
Was he 217? Break even of 12.
It's not going to be...
He's gone 100 over that. Yeah, he'd be close to 300, I reckon.
You reckon? Wow.
We'll have to see. But, it's still 100% worth it, I believe. I think the forward line, obviously, we've been talking about all season. It's very, very tricky. What did Joey Danaher score? He scored 61, so sort of goes to show why I don't trust players like that.
What do you think about McKercher? I know it's irrelevant to the forward line, and largely that's what we want to talk about, but what are your thoughts on McKercher now?
He's going to shoot up a lot in price. But shit, you can get him in. What's he gonna? So he was under 600.
Yeah, 592. So it'd be 630, 640. Yeah. Oh, he did have a break even at 20. Could even be worse than that.
Yeah, he's probably going to go up another, 70, 80K. I think Stewart would be a little bit more, but I'd try and stretch to get there. What's their run? Sydney. Surely James Jordan doesn't go to Colby McKercher. He'd have to go to Sheasel. You could do worse. 83% Tom on ground is the big thing that I'm seeing there that I'm very confident now to get him in. I was obviously wrong in waiting a week.
If
Fisher
Fisher
it's going to cost a whole lot more.
Fisher comes back as well.
I still just has my reservations that we're sort of viewing him as a premium. But if it's the best you can get to, then yes, I can tick it off. It's obviously going to cost a lot more this week than it did last week.
And
apologies if I talked anyone out of that because, that's egg on my face. Absolutely. Any other outside of the box thoughts for the forward line in particular? Any guys that sort of we haven't considered before that we should be considering now? Mateus Philippou came out of nowhere and scored a 117. He looks like he played a lot in the middle based on his heat map, kick to goal. What did he have? 26 touches.
He's been riding some hot form in the VFL too, I believe.
Has he? That's a bit too hot for my takes. Matt Kennedy, here's a guy I want to talk to you about. He's got 3 tons in a row. 111, 100, 108. Now, we all get spooked because he was the sub back in round 8. And he had a 36 against Port Adelaide in round 12 on 75% time on ground, 69. But his role is potentially as good as anyone's in the forward line. Should we be giving him more respect?
I think we should, but this is definitely one of those ones where you do it and it's just buyer beware, isn't it? Because it's a season ruiner, isn't it? If he gets subbed on a 15, if he gets subbed on a 30, if he forbid starts as a sub, which I think he has done at points in his career. That could be a stinky one.
Tom Powell came out and scored 84.
I'm not going there.
He looked a bit more off defence. He might be someone that you would at least hold while Fisher is out, but I don't think I'd be trading back into him. Jeremy Cameron, he looked back to his best. He kicked 4 goals, 4 behind, so it could have even been bigger. You've obviously got no... their other key... Why am I blanking on the great man?
Tomahawk.
No Tomahawk there, so he's going to be getting all the usage in the Geelong forward line against Collingwood this week. You can loop the score. Still, I'm trying to avoid those key forwards, but if it was to go a key forward, he might be one of them because he's a bit different to the rest. But it's still 7 weeks to go, a bit early for me to do that. Shea is someone that I thought potentially could be someone. He had a 1 or 2, but Richmond, I just can't. I don't think I can trust them as a team moving forward. They've got nothing to play for this season. I think Shea's not the kind of, guy to fill his boots and just play for stats kind of player to me. He's never really been the best fantasy player compared to his actual footy ability.
Yeah, I think Dylan Moore's the pick there.
Dylan Moore. I think I'm warming in more and more to Matt Kennedy as well. I'm going to have to go back and watch a bit of film with that one, but the role, at least based on his hit map and CBAs, has been solid. The scoring has been solid the last 3.
Time on ground,
it's
round 15, 83%. Hey, that's all right. Round 16 goes to 67% against the Tigs, and then up at 80% against the Giants as well. So there's a little bit of unpredictability there, but the scoring, you at least have to look into it.
Yeah, 100%. So it's a lot for us to digest, and I'm sorry if this podcast was not very informative and a bit too emotional. Hopefully I'll have gotten over myself by Friday.
Put you out of your misery, mate.
Put me out of my misery, and we'll wrap this one up. If you do have any questions, and I'm not sure why you would for someone who scored 2,100, you can ask me on Q at askmeonq, spelt QU.com/Ball Boys. Get your questions answered in there, and you can help support the show, guys. We will be back again on Friday for the live show. Hopefully we're going to have a better showing this weekend. We're going to have some soul searching, and we're going to put our hat back in the ring this weekend coming up, and you're going to build off this big one and charge into that Tom 1000 challenge for the Content Creators Cup Championship, and we're going to be sweet.
Let's go.
All right, we'll see you guys next week, and catch us later. Bye.